It's time to get your checking account to zero with free checking from PenFed. That's zero ATM fees, zero balance requirements, and zero time spent waiting for your paycheck to direct deposit because you can receive it up to 2 days early. Open your account with just $25 and see how big zero can be. Apply online today at PenFed.org/free checking. Early direct deposit eligibility may vary between pay periods and timing of payers' funding. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.
PenFed's got great rates for everyone.
What is up, everyone? I'm Jeff Lund, and this is the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast. It is Saturday, the day after Alaska Day, and here October the 18th is Alaska Day. It celebrates when Alaska was purchased from Russia in 1867. When I was a kid growing up, I kind of got confused with the dates because obviously 1776 was important. So 76 kind of stuck in my head, but it's 67 that Alaska was purchased from Russia. One of the best, if not the greatest, purchase in the history of purchasing things, going back to all of history, all the things that have ever been purchased. This was the best. I waited on the podcast a little bit because I try to get everything out pretty consistently because, there's a lot of, one of the things I wanted to do when I started this Mediocre Alaskan Podcast was to podcast consistently. And even though at times it would be difficult to put a podcast out, doing due diligence and sticking with it. A lot of people start stuff, but they don't follow through, or they have ideas, but they don't follow through with it. And so I didn't want to be one of those types. When I started off with the freelance writing, you write into a magazine and they reject you. And then if you don't want to get that rejection again, you stop sending stuff. I didn't want to be that. The worst thing that someone can do is say no, and then you kind of get used to that and say, that's fine, I can move on to the next one. And sometimes they just won't send anything back. They'll just reject you by ignoring you. And then you kind of think, well, just at least tell me no, right? That way I can move on to the next rejection faster. So I wanted to keep things moving. I didn't want to be the type of podcast where, you start out 5, 6, 7 episodes, really excited about it, putting out a bunch of content, and then it fizzles. Obviously, some of my podcasts are better than others, but just knowing that's going to be part of it has been cool to kind of know and accept that and to continue on. So I try to keep to a consistent schedule. I've done Sundays, I've done Tuesdays, I've done Wednesdays. So I was going to go Wednesday again, but I had plans for this weekend, and I didn't get a buck last weekend, but I was sure that this weekend I had a good chance, and I was going to go duck hunting for the first time in my life, which I did today with a buddy of mine that I teach with, DJ. And I actually, that's not totally true. I'd been duck hunting once before with a buddy of mine when I moved back to Alaska in 2013. But he didn't really know what he was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. Nothing happened. So this is like the first time. And so it was great to, there's so many things you don't know. I was texting him last night and trying to figure out some of the basics. And then when we were driving out there, just kind of getting a general idea. When you do something a whole bunch of times, you kind of know the program. And so you're trying to explain it to someone else. You don't really know what to explain to them because it's just the routine. So what part of this is going to be the most important for the person who's learning how to do it? And that's what, I've been listening to the Rich Outdoors podcast a lot and looking at the Elk 101 to 102 and then 201 to 202. And that's just, he has Jaden Bales on there. And so Cody Rich is just answering all these questions about how to become a better elk hunter. And Cody's done it for a long time, and he's not, he admits, he still screws up and does stuff that's wrong. But once you're so good at something, and once you've done it so many times, you kind of forget what it was like to be a novice and which were the most, you can give people advice, but there's certain questions that someone else might have that maybe you didn't have, or you forgot that you learned. So I just wanted to get an idea of what the program was, and just down to the decoys and why you put the decoys in certain areas and what you're looking for. And as seagulls were flying by, I'm like, well, would that be the distance that we're looking at if it's a goose or it's a duck? And then also just the shot, what type of shot to buy, or what type of shells to buy. Just a ton of stuff that goes into it. And so it was cool I learned so much and absorbed so much. And we didn't get anything today, but you just stand there, and he wanted us to get some ducks, obviously, or get some geese, and we put out some decoys, and he wanted it to be a good first experience. But I've trained myself the last couple of years to just enjoy the experience. I thought I was really cool because 2 years ago I got all 4 of my deer, and I thought that this is it. Here we go. This is from here on out. I'm going to be a 4 deer a year guy, and I can hold out for bigger deer. And so last year, after I got a nice buck on the opening day, then I went with my bow a whole lot, and then I didn't see another deer, and I kind of got panicked, and I was going out every weekend, and I was like, I got to get a deer. I got to get a deer. And, it was like no one really cares, No one is keeping track. No one is like, I'm not a team. I'm not the Washington Nationals. I'm not the San Francisco Giants or the Colorado Rockies. I'm not some team. I'm not the LA Lakers that people are wondering how I did and they're checking in. No one cares. I care more. So there's no pressure. I shouldn't feel any pressure. And so this last year, it's been great because while I obviously want to get deer, but I focused more on the experience. And that's not just something that losers say, or if you can't get deer, then you're like, oh, well, run the hole. Oh, it's just good to be out there. Yeah, you can say that sometimes, but you got to believe it to some degree. That way you don't become a jerk, or that way you don't hide the times that you're not successful. Even the experts, they'll even on film, they'll show you the times where they didn't get one, and that happens. That's still part of it. So there's no way that you're going to get so good that you're not successful. And so if you're new into it and you think you're cool and then you're not successful and that stresses you out, then you're losing the point. You miss the point. If the entire point becomes about getting 4 points every time you're out there, or getting a huge body count with ducks and geese, and you can't be satisfied or you can't be happy unless that happens, then you're missing the point. So this last year, and especially with the Wyoming thing too, I had this antelope tag, and I was getting frustrated when I was out there because I was making these stalks, or the antelope was close and I didn't take the shot because there were cows in the background, or there's just always something. It was skyline. I didn't know what was behind it. I'm just paranoid. But then you take a step back and you're like, man, you're out here on the plains and you're hunting antelope with your girlfriend. Like, people don't get to do this. So just chill on that whole. I wanted to come back in antelope, and I even thought about, I'm going to give, my buddy Larry a little bit of antelope backstrap. I'm just thinking about those sort of things, but they're not sitting at home wondering how I'm doing. They're not. I enjoy the experience. It's not about showing off to people.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
And so just having that last time when I was out there, and I'd kind of resigned myself to the fact that I wasn't going to get one, but just still hunt and I got some great reps in hunting antelope and stalking and really paying attention to the wind, because out on the plains there you had no cover at all. And so just being diligent with the wind and with being quiet and with being stealthy and using any sort of texture and terrain. And so you get some good reps with the stalking thing and you get better at it. So even though we didn't get an elk and we didn't get a mule deer and we didn't get an antelope, you get better with those experiences. And that's some of the richest, most fun I've ever had. Spending that time with Abby, and that's just, you can't beat it. And so last weekend going out and camping, and the weather wasn't great, but you're still out there in the woods, and I found a spot where I wasn't around a lot of people. You're just out in the woods, man. It's just you in the woods. And then I went out camping Thursday night. We had Friday off of school, not because of Alaska Day, but because we had parent-teacher conferences. So we had 12-hour days, and so we got Friday off. And camping Thursday in the rain. It rained all night Thursday, and then Friday morning getting out there and saw a couple does, and that was it. But there was no one else out there, and you're just out there in the woods, man. There was no pressure. I was so convinced I was going to get a buck, but it didn't happen. And then going out today and wanting to have a good experience, and I wanted to shoot a duck, but also if you go out there on the first day and you get a couple geese and you get a couple ducks, then you might get an unrealistic view of the way things are. If you go out with a guide somewhere and you just get a huge body count, or, you go out with a guide on some river and you get 20 trout, that's not how it usually is. Like you get the guide to circumvent all that, or to use that experience and circumvent the years that people put into it, which can be fun, and that's great. And I love going. This guy Shane, he's a guide from the fly shop in Reading, and I love going out with him because we get on fish, and he's a good dude. It's just a great experience. But when you just go out there and you're just doing it, like that's not what the experience it usually is. So day one, I thought it was appropriate that we didn't get any ducks or any geese, because that's a real reflection of what goes on, rather than going out there and getting a ton. And once you get it dialed in, and that's part of it. I want to work at square one. Had we gone out and got a ton of goose and a ton of ducks, I would think that becomes the expectation every time. And so I want to know that there's work involved. And obviously I hope that the next time I go out I get a goose. I don't want to chalk everything up to not being successful in just the experience, because obviously I want the experience to be positive in the way, and come home with some meat for the freezer. I don't want to spend money to go out there and just have to live with the experience. I want to have that, but being able to appreciate, you're out there with a buddy, and you don't get anything, but you learn this new thing, this new way of doing stuff, and you learn this new program, and it's fun and exciting, and shoot, man, I want to do it. These last 3 weeks have been crazy, because I got my first taste of elk hunting, and that is just, it's burrowed in me now. And then mule deer hunting, same thing. And then antelope hunting, and now duck hunting. There's just so much out there, and I don't know much about any of those things, but it's just so exciting to just have new stuff and new things to do, and I know what's going to come with it. A lot of failure. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna fail, but it's just exciting to have new things to keep fresh. If you can run your routine, and you can get better at your routine, and you can do all the stuff that you're comfortable with, and risk not being unsuccessful. But just finding new stuff to do, man, it's great. And to challenge you, it's just great. I can't remember what podcast it was, and it was probably a Jay Ferrugia podcast. And I'm doing a lot of name dropping on this podcast. Yeah, I'm not affiliated with any of these people. They're just, I guess I might as well say the Rich Outdoors is a good podcast to follow. Jay Ferrugia, Renegade Radio is a great podcast to follow or listen to. But on the Jay Ferrugia podcast, we're talking about never peaking, and how you just keep getting better. And it's not that you are maybe physically at the top, condition. It's just that, there's always something else, and you're being the best that you can be at that moment at time. And it sounds cheesy and cliche, but those are the types of lives that we look at and we're like, dude, that guy's crushing it. That guy's getting after it. That lady is killing it. They're living the lives that, to a degree we probably could too, but we're just not as committed. And, I don't want to look at my life and say there was a whole bunch of things that I wish I would have done, but I didn't try it because I was afraid of failing or I didn't know what to do, just going into it. I have no idea what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to fail. I'm going to do stuff wrong, and people might laugh, but whatever, man. I'll figure it out. And who really cares what they think anyway? I'm sure people went out there and got nice bucks today. I'm sure people went out there and got just a ton of ducks and geese and